Hi, my name is Jessa, and I'm going to try to convince you to read my book, which is called Burden of Divinity. It's been out since April. I started working on this in 2019 and then put it down for a bit, and then came back to it in 2024 and finally finished it in the beginning of this year. And then my sister edited. She was my editor. Can't speak apparently. And then I decided to finally take the leap and publish it, which was a very scary ordeal for me just because I have a lot of self-doubt when it comes to this book, and putting myself out there was a very hard thing for me to do, but I'm extremely proud of it. We've sold 14 copies. 14 people decided they wanted to take a chance on my book and read it, and then those 14 also don't count my sister or my mom, because I purchased those through my link, so it doesn't count towards my sales. So 14 other people decided to buy this book, and I'm incredibly thankful for that. I just wanted to kind of use this video as a way to get a little bit more exposure to my book, give you a little bit of like what it's about, and give you kind of a sneak peek into what's going on in the second book, which is going to be here sometime in November. There will be a pre-order up for it. My sister is currently reading through it now to find all the errors, because I'm sure there are some. And then this will be out, and this will be book 2. So I'm very excited. I'm going to start by reading you the back of the book, just because that kind of gives you like the brief synopsis of what's going on, and then I will dive a little bit deeper into it, and then there'll be other videos about like, we can do character deep dives, we can do like plotting, we can do behind the scenes, we can do a lore video, like we can do all of that. This is just kind of like the overview. So, also I stutter really bad because my brain kind of gets ahead of myself, and especially when I'm trying to read, so if you hear me stuttering, no you did not, just ignore it. Okay. It's been a century since Divinity was formed. It's been almost half a century since the last Blood War. Orion Dracos is the heiress to the Mon's throne, and one of the few Dracoses still alive. Orion has hidden part of who she was all her life in fear of bringing war back to Divinity. It's a fear that had controlled her for the entirety of her life. Like I said, I stutter. Fear of war, fear of Ronan Argos, fear of her power, and fear of her divinity. Except it all changes when she meets an infuriating stranger in the woods while following a calling from deep in her soul. A call that led her straight to Nikolai, the biggest mystery of her life, or so she thought. To give him the chance he so desperately begged for, Orion will put everything on the line by chasing what her heart craves. Call it fate, call it luck, call it the burden of her divinity. So, I guess we'll start with, what does divinity mean? And boy, let me tell you, I have an entire little lore book on this that kept my ideas straight. So let me see if I can't find the right one. So, divinity comes from her being a divinus. So what is a divinus? So, during the Divine War, which was like centuries ago, the gods and goddesses, which are the divine, blessed the humans who had been on their side during the war. With these blessings, they severed parts of their power to give to these humans. They blessed so many humans that passed on those powers that a whole new race was created because of it. So, during the Divine War, it basically started because the different classifications of creatures, which are all created by the divine, decided to go to war against the Timuit, which are like the feared. So your vampires, your wraiths, all your creepy like wendigos, stuff like that, like the nightmarish creatures. So they went to war against them, which angered the gods, who then decided they wanted to get involved. And then there was also humans. So humans decided to fight, and then to thank those humans for their loyalty, the gods and goddesses decided to sever that part of power and bestow it to them to help win the war. Except for what they didn't account for was that when they did that, the power that they blessed to the human altered that human. And so they were no longer just human, and that power could not be taken away. So it altered their genetic makeup, everything. And so it created a new race, because that now became something that could be passed down and was a genetic thing. So if your two parents were divinus, then it was a very strong likelihood that you would turn out to be a divinus as well. And that's how that started. So, in the front of the book, because a lot of this book is based off of Latin, and it's also based off, the divine are based off of the Greek gods and goddesses. Just because I was a Percy Jackson kid and very obsessed with like the Odyssey and the Iliad and stuff like that when I was younger in high school. But in the front of the book, and yes, you're gonna yell at me for the way I fold my books, but it's my book. I'm gonna do what I want. I know my sister hates it, but it's my book. I wrote it. This is mine. I'm gonna do it. But in the front, these are the Divinity classifications. So if you are a Ardor, then you can control and manipulate fire. If you're a Lux, then you control and manipulate light. Stuff like that. And that is all in the front of the book for you, so you know what's going on. And if you see words that you don't understand, it's probably in the front there. If not, just use Google Translate like I did. And then after that, so on the back of the book, it also mentions Ronan Argos. Ronan is the big bad of this whole series. He is the entire reason why Orion is afraid of her divinity and of her power. Mostly because of the Blood Wars, which is also mentioned on the back. So the Blood Wars happened when her father was very, very young, like a very young child. So the start of the Blood Wars was because Orion's great-grandmother, Ambrosia, had previously been in love with this man named Ronan, our big bad. Ronan's a vampire. Ambrosia was the most powerful diviness of her time. I'm pretty sure the way I wrote it is she's the most powerful ever. And you'll get a little bit more of their story in the second book, but they were in love and then they weren't. Or at least she wasn't. And she got married to King Tala Dracos of Mons, which is Orion's great-grandfather. They got married, and they had a son. They had a couple sons. There's Ajax and Lycanon, who Lycanon is definitely in this book. He's in here. You'll get to meet him, and then Ajax is Orion's grandfather. And because of Ambrosia marrying Tala, this set Ronan off, and he went on a warpath. And because she married the king of Mons suffered the most, but he went to war against the entirety of all of Divinity. So I guess I should preface that Divinity has 5 kingdoms: Mons, Enenese, Sylvae, Mare, and Divite. After the Blood War, because there's the big treaty of Divinity that made a treaty that kind of united all 5 of these kingdoms, and then it was decided that Mons would be the ruling of all of them. So everybody has their own king and queen, but Mons is the top ruler over everybody. And so the Blood Wars happen. There's 1 and 2. They happen, and Ronan specifically targets the Divinis, or the Divini. Divinis plural. He specifically targets them and goes after them because he sees them as a mirror of Ambrosia and a threat to his power. So he targets them, and because of that, a lot of the other classifications decide they hate the Divini, and they're afraid of them, and because if you're found with them, you're probably going to die because Ronan's going to come after them, and if you're with them, he doesn't care. He's going to kill you too. And that's basically how the Divini, who were once really powerful and revered, because they fell under the classification of, hello, don't know my password, yeah. Okay, so they were part of the, I want to mess this up, the Venerandus, which are the revered. So they used to be hold high positions of power, and then because of the Blood Wars, they kind of decided to go in hiding because people hated them. Ronan was hunting them, and it was no longer safe to be outed as Divini. So fast forward to years later, we have Orion, which is my main character. Orion is the heir to the Mon's throne. She is being crowned. She's the queen. And she's a divinus. So she's got power. And she's been hiding it her entire life, because being a divinus is not only a powerful thing and it's a very powerful thing, but it's also a personal risk, because Ronan's not dead. He didn't die in the wars, he just disappeared and nobody knew what happened, and now everybody's afraid that if you reveal yourself as a divinity, or as a divinus, then Ronan's gonna come back and get you. And that's kind of like the superseding fear here, is that she hides part of herself because she thinks that people are gonna hate her, and she thinks that Ronan's gonna come back. But she's also really tired of hiding. I'm sorry, my cat's back there, that's Broccoli. So she's tired of hiding, and she's got this group of friends that are also all Divinity, like her. Not the same, like, potentias, which are like your powers, but they're all Divinity, they're all loyal to her, and she decides she's tired of hiding, so she decides to reveal that at her coronation. And the events of this book are snowballing what happens from that moment on and to the end. And then you get to see the consequences of her actions, or the repercussions, or whatever you want to call it. You'll find out what the burden of her divinity really is. And I think that I took entirely too much time trying to build this world, and I'm sure there's probably like plot holes somewhere, or continuity errors, just because it's a lot, and I try to make sure she wasn't too OP. So when you're a divinity, you can reach Excuro, which is burnout, which means you can't push yourself too far, because your potentias have limitations, and every potentia has a cost. And all of the costs are different for the different potentias, and you get to see that with Orion. So you get to see what her limitations are, and how far she can push herself, and how far she shouldn't push herself. But that will kind of play into it. And then another theme is what the fight between what she wants and what she's expected to do. So Orion is ascending the throne by herself. She doesn't have a man with her. And her mom is outdated. She wanted her to be betrothed. Her dad was like, I'm not having any of that, mostly because her grandma didn't want her to. And so she kind of is a dreamer. Orion doesn't want to follow suit like her mom and her dad did. She wants to find something real. She wants to find it on her own. She doesn't want to be set up with somebody like that she hasn't had the chance to fall in love with yet. And she wants something real. She wants the excitement of falling in love with somebody, and that's something she butts heads with her mother all the time. And so enter Nikolai. She meets him. He's insanely infuriating to her, and he challenges everything that she has believed her entire life. So she is constantly at war with herself, just because she's like, I know what I should be doing, but he is just making me feel so different, and I want other things, and it's just a fight, because she doesn't want to give in, but she also is like falling for this guy that she mysteriously met, and he's so annoying and so infuriating, but he's so hot, and that's her dilemma. But Nikolai is just all secrets and mystery, and you don't know much about her, or about him, and neither does Orion, and he kind of likes to keep it that way. And so she kind of fights with the fact of, I'm falling for this guy, but I don't really know anything about him. I don't know where he came from, but he is everything that I wanted, and he's everything that I shouldn't want. And so that is something that she has to fight against, because she should be more careful, because she's the queen now. She should be more careful with who she falls for, but she can't help it. And Nikolai is all kinds of, he is quiet, he's witty, and his dialogue is sometimes sharp. He's kind of like, I don't know, I just really like him. Nikolai's my baby. We love him. And then diving off of that, like, her friends also don't trust him that much, and they're kind of like, girl, what are you doing? Like, you just met this man, what are you doing? And then they meet him, and they're like, okay, this kind of makes more sense now. Like, it makes sense. And so her friends are kind of like rough around the edges, but we love them. her 4 closest friends, will have more of a role than her other friends, and so, like, they're, like, her inner circle, and then she's got her legion, which is, like, the rest of them, and they're all Divinity. But you have Lyra, who is, like, this sarcastic, witty, like, war maiden. She's great. She does not have a soft side, or she does, but she doesn't really let it show. Then there's Maddie, who is just... he is a sarcastic asshole. He's the comic relief. He's great. And there is Icarus, who's just chaos. He's a bundle of joy. Like, he is the sunshine character, 100%. Sarcasm, chaos, all of that. That's Icarus. And then you have Quinn, who tries to, like, balance everybody out, where you have the 2 sarcastic assholes, and you've got chaos, and then you've got Orion, who... she's witty, but she's also the queen, so she kind of got to hold herself together and be, like a role model, but she's not, because these are her friends, if that makes sense. So then you got Quinn, who is, like, the mom. She tries to mellow everybody out. She's, like, the calm one, but even sometimes she's got a mouth on her, which is something that I really like. I really like the dynamic of it, and so in my book, Found family is just something that is a central point, just because sometimes you can't choose your family, but you can't choose who you're born to, but you can choose who you surround yourself with, and that's something Orion takes to heart, and she's surrounded herself with this beautiful family that she's created for herself, and I love them so much, and I love that for her. I also wish that I could tell you that this is, like, enemies to lovers. It's not. I didn't have that restraint. Like, I couldn't do it. I just liked Orion and Nikolai's dynamic too much. And I just did not have the restraint to make it slow burn. I didn't have the restraint to make it enemies to lovers. Like, I couldn't do it. But it's a totally different dynamic. I won't tell you what it is, because you gotta read it to find out yourself, or else I'd be spoiling things. And I'm not here to do that. So, you're just gonna have to read it and find out for yourself, and then you can yell at me later or don't, or you can just tell me you hate it, or don't. I don't know. I don't know how you're gonna feel, because I'm not gonna spoil it for you. Read it and find out. Then you can DM me about your thoughts, because my DMs are open. You can message me, curse me out, give me pointers, whatever you want. Tell me you loved it, tell me you hate it. Just give me feedback. I don't really care. I only have feedback from my sister, so I really do need somebody to, like, tell me, like, if this is good or not. Because I can't take, like, hyping myself up is really hard to do. So I need somebody to give me some sort of feedback, please and thank you. And then there's also characters in here that you hate. Like, obviously you're gonna hate Ronan. Like, fuck him. Yeah. But there's also some other characters that I want you to not like, and that's very evident. Like, we have a hate page for Thaddeus. Like, hate him. I love him, but hate him. He serves a purpose. Yeah, and that's kind of, like, the general, it's about as general as I can keep it without spoiling anything. I don't think there's anything else I can really say that wouldn't spoil it. Let me see. If there's anything I can tell you about it that's not going to spoil it. Oh, I guess I could talk about kind of like the symbolism in it. So the Orion inherits the throne, but she also inherited divinity from her family, and that's a big thing that is in the background of the book, but you understand that that's a central point of her story, is that she struggles under the weight of her divinity and under the weight of the expectations of her title. So the cost of that inheritance is the central question. Is it going to crush her, or is she going to follow what everybody wants for her, or is she going to rebel and do whatever she wants and make her own history and make her own legacy and that kind of thing? So that's a big thing of the story. There's also tackling the topic that divine power isn't necessarily portrayed in this book as like a glorious thing. Like, it should be, because you're blessed by the divine, which are like the that is everybody's belief system. They believe in the divine. And to have that power that the divine gave up and be afraid of it and be afraid of the responsibility and how isolating it is a total contrast to what it used to mean. And I feel like that's a beautiful battle that Orion has to go through, is deciding if she's gonna hide from her legacy or is she's gonna face it. She also is fighting against the fear that she's gonna bring war back, and she doesn't want to end up like her great-grandmother, and she doesn't want to bring war back. But sometimes with people like Ronan and power like hers, war is inevitable, which is something you might find out when you read this book. Or maybe you won't. Who knows? Because you gotta read the first book first to understand what I'm talking about when it comes to this one. So, get to reading, kids. Yeah, so I feel like Divinity itself just represents having to carry something and having to prove something to yourself and to others, and it's just that weight that you carry on your shoulders and that responsibility, and it's just hard to manage sometimes, and sometimes it'll bring you down, or it makes you shy away from things you think you want or the things you know you want, and it pushes you away from it, like Nikolai. So there is that. I guess the brief description of this book is fantasy, romantasy, epic fantasy, whatever you want to call it. It's got, I guess it's high fantasy because there's kings, heirs, kingdoms, war legacies, mythical creatures, like power, romance, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of everything else. So, I would describe Orion as a strong female character, at least in my opinion. But the way I wanted to write her was I didn't want her to be fragile. I wanted her to be tough. I wanted her to be strong, and I wanted her to be willing to do what it takes. And that is something that she grows into, especially into the second book. She grows into that person that knows what needs to be done, and she is struggling with, can she do it? Like the Star Wars line, like, I know what I must do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. That's her. That's her. I was also a very big Star Wars nerd. Still am. Star Wars, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Divergent, Hunger Games. You probably can tell. I also love leaving, like, little clues all through the book, so like Taylor Swift, I leave Easter eggs everywhere, so everything I say and do is for a reason. Everything is done a specific way for a reason. Even in my Instagram posts, if they're about the book, they're clues. They're clues. Because when you get to the end of the book, you're gonna reach that last chapter and be like, did I just miss all of that? Was that there the whole time? Like, am I just stupid? Because my sister had that moment where she, like, finished it and she was like, wait. So I kind of hope that's everybody else's reaction. At least I'm hoping for that. That'd be great. I mean, and that would tell me that I did a good job in my writing. Oh, I guess I could give you some comparative titles. So, since my sister is my editor, and she is she is a bookish nerd. She is all over book talk. She does a lot of reading with me. She honestly has surpassed me. I think she's trying to read 50 books this year. She's got a whole library at home, which used to be my old bedroom back when I lived with my parents, so now that's her library. She recommends me books. She actually got me into the, like, romantasy by reading The Cruel Prince, which is also in my top 5 books still. I guess you could compare... Yeah. You could compare my book to Fourth Wing for the, like, political aspect and kind of the war, I guess, because, I mean, war is inevitable in my book, and this had war in it, and I really like the dynamic between Xaden and Violet, so do with that what you will. I also love the dynamic in this book between, well, not this book specifically, but this series, of Reese and Feyre. So that feels very much like something that that echoes in my book. I also really like the found family in this. I love a good found family trope, like, love that. I'd say you could compare to this one just because it's a strong female character. Like, she's not fragile. She knows what she's got power, and she's gonna do what she needs to do with it. And I think that's about everything that I am really gonna get into with this video, just because I don't want to spoil it, because not that I'm expecting this book to blow up. That's a like pipe dream of mine. Like, if this blows up, then you can come back here and prove that you were here from the beginning. But even if it doesn't, I'm gonna keep writing, just because I love my story, I love my characters, and I love writing, and I'm not gonna give up just because it's not like popular. I am an author. I published a book. I'm proud of myself for that, and even if it doesn't blow up, I'm still going to keep making these videos. I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to keep believing in myself, because my sister and my mom and my husband did, and I can't let them down. And I also can't let myself down, because this is my dream. I'm not giving up on this. It might take me years, it might take me, like, it might never happen, but it is what it is, and I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to be like Hamilton. I'm going to keep writing like I'm running out of time. But yeah, even if it doesn't, I'll still be happy, but I don't want to spoil anything, just in case it does. Just in case. Fingers crossed. Maybe it'll happen. But I'll leave you on the note of, this is the second book. It's called Bane of Immortality, and it'll probably be out sometime in November. I'm hoping for like the middle of the month. I'm hoping it's out before like December, but I'll do a pre-order. And this book really kind of, it put me through the ringer writing it. Like, it kind of made me cry a little bit. Definitely made me cry a little bit. So I'm hoping it makes everybody else cry when they read it. If not, then I'm going to start questioning if you are like a psychopath or it was just obvious. But I'm going to leave you on that note. I hope that this video has either piqued your interest, so you want to check out my book, it directs you to my series, or if it clarifies anything if you already bought the book and it makes you excited for book 2, or explains some things that you didn't already understand. If you guys have questions, though, DM me on Instagram, Song of Orion. You can also comment on here and I will look at that, obviously. If you have anything you want answered or anything you want to know, comment it. Yeah, that's all I've got, really. So just look out for the next video and we'll get into it. I think I'm going to do a lore video next, so we'll get into that next one. Bye, guys. I love you guys a lot. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for checking this out, and I appreciate you guys so, so, so much. Bye.